Hi there, Earth Nation. This is Amanda with the Activated Earth, and this is my Summit 2023, all about nature connection and what being in connection can do for you. And I'm here right now with Diana Tedoldi, and I am going to read her bio to you. She's doing some amazing things. So Diana is an Italian leadership and executive coach with 20 plus years of experience in the corporate environment and an international background. She's also the founder of the Nature Coaching Academy, where she teaches how to coach in synergy with nature. It's the ICF accredited ecosomatic coaching training. In 2021, Diana gave a TEDx talk for Aston University in the UK, Letting Nature Be Your Coach. She regularly speaks at international conferences and corporate gigs about the value of reconnecting with nature for personal and professional growth, social innovation, and ecological transition. Diana works with executive and C-level teams, leaders, and change makers, integrating the power of embodiment and nature with coaching conversations to ignite an interconnected way to feel and perceive ourselves across all our relationships, both human and natural. And I found your niche that you are participating in really unique, as you concentrate on working with executives and teams that run organizations. And I can remember hearing some of my friends say, I really want to work in, with corporations, with businesses, and help them, with mindfulness or, whatever they were teaching. And I can remember thinking, wow, I don't know how we would get those kinds of places to listen. And they are often focused in a different way on how they do business. And I would love to hear your story of how you got into that, how that grew, and what kind of experience you have in sharing nature coaching with them.
Thank you for this very interesting question for me, because it allows me myself to also look at what I'm doing today from the perspective of how I got here. And yes, long story short, I was already in the corporate environment before I started to explore nature connected conversations and coaching with my clients. So in the year 2000, I started working in the corporate environment, and it just happened that I didn't look for it. I just was out of my Master of Science degree in philosophy, so I was ready for an unemployed life because I was looking for a philosopher, so incredibly, in 3 months, I got into my first company where I stayed for 18 years. All the while, I started exiting my corporate career like one year and a half after being employed, but in the form of gradually reducing the days I was working there as I was launching my freelance work, basically. I started exploring nature, mindfulness, and self-awareness and self-reflection in corporate environments as of 2009. Well, no, not really in the corporate environment. 2009 was really like my first experiment with these topics with just persons outside of the corporate environment, where I tried to see if what I was doing and cultivating in my personal life until that moment could be communicated, made understandable for other people beside myself. So that was the very first experiment with a group of 20 people in my garden, and all the pictures, all the photos of that experience are spread in my websites, because it's still like a very important moment in my life. And so after that experiment, I said, okay, it works. Now, at the time, I was working mainly as a corporate trainer and consultant, more as a consultant. first lines, for managers and yes, executives basically. And so from that time on, I started interweaving and proposing and offering bits of these kind of experiences, so I could check if it was, how it worked, if it was acceptable, interesting. And the response was amazing, honestly amazing. Because every time I was mentioning, you know, we could do this, this, and this in nature. How does it sound? Oh, it would be beautiful. Yes, let's do it. And so it was working. So it was just a natural unfolding of ideas, where these bits of experiences and experiments gave me the courage and also the creativity to then focus mainly on that. And so what I'm proposing and doing today in those contexts with nature and contemplative practices and embodiment is also the result of a co-creative relationship with my clients and with the places where we went. Because that's an essential piece. So in my approach, I really love to work in synergy with the place. And I openly state that at the beginning of any experience of team development. Basically, I work either in individual coaching journeys or team development journeys with team in natural environments, but also indoors, integrating nature where possible. And so when I state that, okay, we are here, we are openly asking the place to collaborate with this journey, and we will see how the place will want to collaborate with you. And sometimes it seems like, what is she saying? I can notice, you know, that, okay, so the place will collaborate. All right. And so it creates some kind of, you know, inner displacement, but then probably it's also my playfulness that makes it accepted. Then every time I can, I just say, okay, I really appreciate how the place is contributing to this conversation. Or what sometimes I work with, you know, nature is so powerful in offering ideas and metaphors that can be used by the persons to then share about their topics. So whenever is possible in an experience, I interweave that, and that creates a deepness in the ability of people to talk about even hard topics and face difficult conversations, either with themselves or with their teammates. So yeah, that's still an exploration. I don't feel I have learned everything I can absolutely on this, because it's an unfolding process. And it's exciting.
What do you see? What are the kinds of epiphanies that people have when they connect like that for the first time? And how does that help the team in a business?
Well, I can two of the most interesting experiences immediately pop up in my mind. I'm not sure, is it okay if I tell this kind of stories?
Absolutely, because I think it brings greater understanding to the audience when they hear a specific example. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so okay, these experiences come from this year. So in one of these teams, I was in a beautiful venue near Prague in the Czech Republic with this team of managers. And it was like 10 people or 9 persons, I don't remember exactly, 9 or 10. And this experience that I'm talking to you about happened like in the first morning of experience over a 2-day team development workshop offsite. So I wanted to just create a moment where people, another thing important to mention is that I was seeing this team for the third or fourth time in over 1 year. So we were already advanced in the level of mutual trust and relationship. And at the beginning of the workshop, I had some playful games and sharing icebreakers and so on. And then we in the woods. And then I just had that idea. Usually, in my experience, my best ideas come in the moment and are not scheduled ahead. So in that moment, I just knew that I wanted them to share how they felt in that time of the year, in that particular moment in their history as a team. And so I proposed this mindful walking in a line where they would take turns in guiding the line. And the first person, okay, we were like in a place in the wood, and I said, okay, now you will listen to yourself. All this will happen into silence. So no need to comment on anything from now on until the last person has finished this thing that I will now explain. We will just be exploring a different way of communicating through silence. No words are required to comment. So now listen to yourself and feel if it's your time to start. Tune into your inner compass and feel where do you want to go in this wood, where you will find a place that talks about how you feel in this particular moment of your team journey. When you are there, you just stop, and if it's necessary, you just indicate what brought you there and what's catching your attention. We will listen and feel what you will indicate, and take time to absorb the information. No comments with words. And as you have integrated that place and that information for that person, listen to yourself. It's your turn to go, start, and then another line will form and we will arrive, and so on until everybody is done. And so I did it. It was like the first time I was doing such a deep, silent, meditative experience with that thing. We did other things, but it was an experience for me also in my life. I never did it with a team like that. So it worked amazingly. In some places, people were arriving, and without any word, somebody was crying. And everybody had a story on why that person brought the team in that place. And it was sometimes different, sometimes it was correspondent to the ideas of the person. So it was really powerful. And the comment after that was, I couldn't imagine it could be so easy. As soon as we start, as you were explaining, it seemed like complex or just nonsense, or just, I wasn't motivated to do it. But as we started to do it, I saw how powerful it could be, and then it unfolded so easily. And so people were, I would say, surprised by the effect and the impact. And then of course we used all that to I don't remember exactly how, but we have spent some time conversing around the different spots where we went. So this is an example. Another example, it will be very, very short compared to this one. The technique was much easier, and it was another team that I saw like in June or May. We were in the Alps, in one of the most beautiful places in Italy, in the Dolomites, and it was another team of like 8 or 10 people. And so it's still, these two teams are executives, so the top managers of the country and of this multinational brand. And so again, after a moment of playfulness, my motto is lightly but deeply. So I always like to start with playfulness because that opens people. So and I also like to create fun moments where people really engage with each other in this light atmosphere. And then the idea was to just go on a trail that could take us to a certain beautiful place that we never reached because we did different things, which is, what I explained, the experience that I proposed was, okay, now, as we are starting to walk in this beautiful trail, take time to share. I don't remember if I also gave them some questions to answer in couples, in pairs that were always changing, just, to get to know each other more. It was the first time that team was meeting between themselves in that experiential way and with myself. So it was all quite new. So I also said, okay, as we walk, just tune into the place and take some time to really observe what's around you. And when you see a particular aspect of the landscape or a detail of it or a view that opens at a certain point, that talks about how you feel the group in this particular moment of the life of this group, stop us and say, okay, this is my place. This is what the group, the question was what the group is for me now.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it was on the philosophy of the person, like what's important in a group. How do I want to perceive this group? Yeah, it was more like this. And so every time we were going around, and sometimes I was saying, oh, wait, I found it. And so every time we were just stopping and in silence for some minutes, just savoring what was the message. And the idea was always, okay, you told us that this is your vision of the team. But before you tell us that, just let us absorb what you want us to see, and let us offer you what we see before you tell us what it is for you. Mm-hmm. So this created a rich moment of sharing. And sometimes what people was perceiving from that aspect of the place helped the person who chose it to even expand the meaning of what instinctively she was or he was thinking or feeling. So that again led to a very rich conversation, and it was like the foundation that then allowed us to move on in our team development journey. So these are two examples in team settings of the kind of experiences that include moments of contemplation, intuition, sharing, and also nature connection.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because what I'm feeling as you were describing that is how nature is going to give you unbiased feedback, that doesn't have any ego in it. It's just going to be absolutely pure feedback. And that's a beautiful way to bring people into it. I love it. Have you received any feedback from the individuals on how things have been for them after the experience?
After, only on behalf of the first group, which is a group that I see more often. The other group, I'm still waiting for the follow-up because we just met just
Right.
1 or 2 months ago. So I still have to have the follow-up. So no, on the individual side, no, but all the process of my team development journeys is really allowing a connection of the individual points of view on certain topics. So we have treasured those moments for the next conversations in the team setting while we were all together. So yeah, I always like to ask questions also about how are you perceiving that we are progressing towards, your expectation for this meeting. This is something that I usually do. And also, how do you see that the place is contributing to this progression? So it's always part of the check-in questions that I always ask during the process. Yeah. So that I have also information to, to better tune in the different experiences that I propose.
What kinds of ways does this actually contribute, aside from the personal growth, to professional growth? How does it enhance the professional side?
It enhances the relationship side, which is unextricable. I mean, you cannot take it away from the results. So for me, when I work with a group, is always somehow the accent is on the relationship, and how you need to have certain relationship between team members, so that a certain kind of performance can emerge, a certain kind of results. So these two are just inseparable. And so every time there is a problem in the performance, I go and support the group in looking how the relationship can be used to address those obstacles. So I think that this is mainly directed in deepening the quality of the relationship within the team, the level of presence of each person within the team, and also as their executives, between themselves and the teams that they manage. So for me, when I organize these experiences and journeys, it's about giving persons the tools to become self-aware about how they are, what are their expectations, their best intentions of how they want to contribute in their organization, what they need to feel good about their work and about the different aspects of their team members. So it's about self-awareness and creating oases of self-reflection and team reflection, which is something that is usually lacking in everyday, hustle. So I think that this is the main benefit that people get from this, having these oases of sharing authentic conversations, looking at things that are happening from a wider perspective, and nature is really a helper for that, because it allows to step back and look like from the top to what's happening to you. And mindfulness is an ally for this, of course. And also engaging the body is a game changer for most people, because most of our lives, especially in the corporate environment, are here in this dimension. So every time you just allow people to sink deeply into the intelligence of their bodies, and the lived experience of their bodies, different perspectives emerge, and clear, new, innovative, clear views of the best directions to take emerge. So it's really an igniter for in innovative perspectives and actions. I think this is my experience, at least based on what I see.
Yeah. I have a small business and I have about 7 or 8 employees. And one of the things that I have noticed with when you get a group of people together, there can be a lot of misinterpretation of behaviors, actions, maybe words. And I have told the group that if they can't let go of their own story about what something means, then we can't actually grow and we can't have a better team. And if I were to take my crew out in nature, do you think that that would help with that? That's the pattern that I see with my people. And it's been that way even as they have cycled in and out. It's the misinterpretation and the placing of one's own story on things.
Yeah.
Would that help my crew?
Oh, I mean, on different levels, and also it depends on what, I mean, it's not just that you go outdoors. It depends also the kind of relationship and things that you do outdoors. So it depends on the kind of conversations that you can facilitate. And for me, most of the work really that I do with teams, but also with people individually, is okay, so you have this perspective. Have you checked in the perspective of the other person? No, but of course she thinks that. Okay, let's check in
Right.
in the right way, and not like you are wrong because you should. No, wait, okay, because this is very dangerous. Okay, so for me, the idea is to create a safe space, and for this, nature can be helpful because it automatically lowers the stress levels, hormones inside of us. So the right place with the right, safety, psychological and physical safety can really lower the defensive or aggressive mode that we often fall into when there are conflicts, or problems. So that's a condition for then embark on a conversation where the goal should be like, okay, I tell you how I work, what are my expectations, what I like, what I don't like. Please, I want to listen. What are your expectations? What is your experience? What you like, what you don't like, so that we then can find a spot to converge together. So if that is the goal, and you have the chance to facilitate a honest conversation like that, that can be a change maker. What do you think?
I think I'm going to take my group out for a walk. So
Yeah.
my business is in California, even though I live in Eastern Kentucky, and I'll be there in about 2 months.
Mhm.
And I already have a place in mind. It's beautiful at Oak Grove, and it's I go there every time I'm there in California. So
Mhm.
we'll
Mhm.
see how they do.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And if you have a good experience with them there, with any kind of activity, then it would be interesting to let them share about, okay, what did we do together here that was so fulfilling, that we also needed to expert in our everyday work together, so that we can, reflect on the positive side that we have here also in our everyday work. So if you enable this transition, then that can be really helpful, I think.
Yeah, I think it would. I'm going to give that a go and see what happens. We've done other types of connecting, but I have never taken them out to be purposefully mindful in nature and connect with nature and each other. So I think it'll be really valuable. I was wondering if some of the bigger places where you work, if this is the case where you don't get to do this kind of coaching with everybody. You're working with the executives. How does it change the overall energy and environment of the business as a whole?
I think you are touching a hard topic, because the people I work with this kind of experiences usually belong to very big companies, where they can influence some aspects, but not the whole system. So yes, they are in charge of perhaps, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, or even more people in that country. But then the overall line of management is often established as elsewhere. So far, I wasn't really working with like the president or, the people deciding the policies, the top level policies, which also involve, which is the aspect that I would really like to impact, which also policies that can also involve how we do business. How do we impact the planet? How are we really, honestly, truly sustainable? And if you are a company producing goods on a global scale, I think that the sustainability topic is not so easy to address.
Yeah.
And so the complexity of that kind of impact that I would like to have with this conversation, in my experience so far, I haven't touched it yet, which is something that I would really like to work on for the future. And I'm building connections in this direction, but it's something like, okay, now this is my next piece. Okay, how can I have climate coaching conversations with my client, not just because I want my teams to be successful in their work, but also how can they be successful and also have a wider impact, and how can I be able to support this? So this is not something that I'm doing already. So the impact on, the wider community of the planet. So what I am noticing in terms of impact is how they are changing the way that people handle relationships relationships at work below them. Okay, so they become aware of certain aspects of humanity, relationship, and emotional management and so on, so that they can become models for their people to also work with their people in the same way. So this is like a cascading effect that involves mainly this human sensitivity and the attention to impact the professional actualization, personal actualization, but in their work through personal growth. For me, the next stage is really how all these fits into the wider context of ecological awareness and ecological impact. So this is something that needs additional care and exploration. It's also something very new. The Climate Coaching Alliance is there for this. I am part of it. We are just starting out with the climate coaching also in Italy, but it's an unfolding and probably late effort to impact that aspect too. So we have to see. I'm not sure I answered your question though.
Well, you answered with what you've seen occur, which is really what I wanted to know. So, and I think it's amazing that you want to take that even deeper. And I'm sure you will, with what you have accomplished so far. It's going to, just changing how some of the energy of how people feel and deal with each other in those corporations is going to shift the energy for everybody. This is great. I don't have words to express how beautiful I think it is what you're doing. And you had mentioned also how it helps with social innovation. So I know that you've been talking about it, but I don't know specifically if you've pinpointed what you mean by that. So I would just like everybody to understand that.
So I took after my Master of Science degree more recently in like 7 or 8 years ago, I took another master degree in plant intelligence for social innovation, which is like how can we get inspired by the plants and how they work, and the essence of the amazing things that they do is really in collective intelligence and how they collaborate with each other within their ecosystem to create I would say a positive impact for all the living beings in a certain place. So the first day of this master program in the University of Florence, the professor was Stefano Mancuso, which is a world-renowned scientist specialized in plants intelligence. And the first thing he said was, plants do everything that animals do, and better, and even more things. And I said, okay, this is something that I really want to know. And so I studied how can we take from how plants work to design the best learning environments in corporations, for example, the best community environments. And the perspective is multi-layered, and it involves thinking in systems. So in my work, I integrate this approach to social innovation, which is like how we innovate the social systems we belong to by integrating a different mindset, a different way to see what we do. And the innovating piece for me is that it's not a new model that we have to invent in our minds. The innovation is go out there and see the mentors, the scientists, the teachers that are bringing life to the ecosystems and on Earth since 3.8 billion years ago. So this approach is called biomimicry and is really spreading over the globe. So for me, it's about how can I contribute in lighting up bulbs in our brains, in companies, so that we can work and live more like nature, so that we can be resilient, sustainable, regenerative, like nature has been until we decided to take a different route, even though we are part of nature. But it seems like we are a part of nature that hasn't really understood what it means to live on this planet with grace and in synergy with the rest of life, with the rest of non-human life, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, again, I have answered you.
Oh yeah, you answered. Thank
Okay.
you. I just wanted to mirror back the biomimicry piece, because that's done so much with technology, and I've started thinking about biomimicry for humans, and you just described it. You just described it, biomimicry for humans, how we get to be like nature. And thank you for bringing that up. You also have been talking about some of the science that comes in, like how the plants work. And I've seen it mentioned that there are scientific studies about how what you're doing works. Can you share a study or two with us, for all of us science geeks that are here, myself included?
Okay, I would like to quote also the authors of these researches, but my memory just wiped out the names. But if you Google or you go into any portal like ResearchGate, for example, and place keys, research keys like nature connectedness, benefits on it can be very different things like mood, stress response, or even performance at work. There is a very huge body of evidence demonstrating that actually nature makes us better persons, either in our lives and also in our relationships. And I would really like to quote again, I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name, but if it's possible to add like a link or something in the page where this recording will be posted, I'm very more than happy to provide a full list, not because it's impossible to have a full list of researches, but a very rich list of resources. With this research too that I'm about to quote, which is the evidence-based research on how nature connectedness and exposure to nature enhances pro-ecological and pro-social behavior. What does it mean? That nature exposure ignites our will to change our lifestyle and what we do for nature in the direction of conservation actions or mindset or regeneration or changing consumption habits so that basically our footprint on Earth is lighter. And pro-social behavior means that nature exposure makes us more generous with other people and more prone to thinking about the others instead. So it's about ego decentering. So these are, I think, two very interesting researches that I will send you the reference to. And there is a super rich body of scientific research on all the benefits that we can get as we expose ourselves to natural environments, on our mood, on our stress symptoms, depression, anxiety. So the blues and the greens really relax our nervous system. For example, the sounds of nature, like water flowing in a stream, or the sound of leaves in the wind, in the breeze, have a relaxing again effect on our brain waves. All the very big body of research around forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, emerged from Japanese scientists and doctors, demonstrating how the substances, the phytoncides who are in the air of a forest, which are essential oils basically, used by the plants to protect themselves, they have an immune stimulating effect on our system. So these are just really some of the most famous probably researches, but the body is growing day after day, and there is a lot of interest on going deeper into these findings.
Thank you so much. I would love to read something like that. So if you could provide it doesn't have to be a long list. We don't want to overwhelm people with scientific papers, but I would love to read some of that. Science is one of my favorite things to read about. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to bring up?
For me, it would be really an invitation to go deeper into the relationship with place. And the idea, which is really the essence of what I like to bring with teams inside and outside of the working environment, and also with my courses, is that nature has subjectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Nature is not a place to go. It's a living being, always interacting with us in any given moment, even though we don't perceive it. So perhaps one last thing that I would really like to say is, to the next time that you go into a wood or along a shore, you just look around and give yourself the idea that what you are seeing is not just surfaces of things, but it's living beings interacting with you, feeling you, your weight, your body temperature, your smell or perfume, your energy somehow. It may seem like a strange thinking, but who cares if it's true or not? Evidence-based studies demonstrate that plants always interact and feel us. But can we have the same perception of the sea in front of us, or of a stream? It's different, because somehow we may even be open to considering that plants are living beings. But come on, the sand on a shore. Just think about it. It may be possible, probably. We just need different tools to assess which kind of life is it, or who knows. But I do this with the sea, the river, where I go almost every day. And for me, I decided that I have a relationship with this river, which is the same that you see in my TED talk. It's Ada River. Ada is a female name. So for me, that is my aunt. I decided that this is the kind of relationship that I have with that river. So every afternoon is like, okay, I go and take a tea with my aunt, but it's a river. And when I'm there, I understand it may be questionable. Anyway.
Trees are my grandmother's, so.
Voila.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Okay. So I'm validated. And last week, I had a very important meeting with some people in my team. There were some conflicts arising, and I was feeling so uncomfortable in facing that meeting. So I went to Ada, and I just swam a little bit. And at a certain point, I stopped and I said within myself, Ada, please share with me, which intention do you think I should hold inside myself as I will start that meeting tomorrow morning? And honestly, until that moment, the current was different. Now, you can believe me or not, but I'm sharing what I felt in that moment. I started feeling like the current was like a hand, like pushing me somehow. And I had this insight, like, okay, the river is talking to me in the only way she can, which is with the current, with something that she can bring to me through the water, or specific colors or shapes on the surface. So the first answer was, this for me was give a direction, have a clear direction. She was impressing in me like this direction. And I said, okay, this is interesting. So having a clear direction, and it's forward. So for me, the idea, the intent was, okay, I will open the meeting stating the direction that we would like to work on together, which is future looking and co-creating future opportunities around that topic. So it was future focused and not past focused, which was dangerous. And then I kept listening, and I noticed that there were some circles, very gentle, forming on the surface. And that for me was a message of delicateness, like be delicate, but so engage your force, which was the current, force and direction, but delicate. And as soon as I acknowledged that, I saw some very small fishes like this starting to take my skin away from, the dead skin from.
Right.
It was very pleasant. It was not something, strange. It was like.
Yeah, it's like getting a facial.
Incredible. And I said, okay, this is the way that I will cultivate the reconnection of the team. So when you go with nature, not into nature, but with nature, with that kind of mindset, all kind of magical things can happen. And this is just an example of the kind of deepness of relationship that you can get to. I'm sure that you know about this with plants, and perhaps also with other living beings that you didn't mention. So for me, River Ada is one of my important relationship now in my life, just as is the sea, where I go a couple of times a year, and the plants and the woods near my house, and the field, and specific trees that have a very deep meaning for me. And that, so we can have the same deepness in our relationship with the different aspects of the natural world, just like the relationships that we have in our lives with humans or with our pets at home. So the last thing that I really wanted to mention is to cultivate deepness in the relationship with the aspect of the natural worlds, that touch your attention and curiosity.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm glad you shared that whole story of your relationship with your river, because I think that'll offer people some understanding and how they can know that just because they think nothing's happening, that they're not receiving a message, they are receiving a message. That's really beautiful. And then do you have any upcoming programs or a flagship program that you want to share that you can tell us about?
Yes. Okay. The Nature Coaching Academy, which is the name of my project, where I teach coaches how to coach with nature, will start again in spring 2024 with an international program. It will be the first ever international program, because so far we had 3 editions of my courses just in Italian. So we have perfected the program, the approach, and everything. It's an ICF accredited program. The ICF is the International Coaching Federation, which is the golden stardom for professional coaching. And my program is, so far as I know, one of the few, or the only one, I don't know exactly, but I think it's probably the only one integrating embodiment, contemplative practices, and nature connection with coaching. And so this is going to start in spring. But for the fall, probably a little bit earlier than Christmas, we will be releasing not a full professional nature coaching training program, but a short course, which will be self-coaching with nature. We are designing it. We have already started shooting the videos outdoors, of course, with nature. And so it's going to be a personal growth journey based on our framework of the 8 natural archetypes, where we will guide participants in learning how to work in synergy with the desert archetype, the soil, the waters, the tree and the forest, the sky, the mountain, the volcano, and the great void. These are the 8 natural archetypes that we will work with, and it's beautiful if you can access also the corresponding natural environment, but for some, not for everybody, volcanoes and deserts are available. So that's another easier and shorter program to get a sense of how we work with nature on ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I haven't heard of those archetypes before. However, I love that they basically embody the elements of the 4 directions, you know, earth, air, water, fire. It's all in there. That's beautiful. So if somebody's interested in working with you, how would they contact you?
They can reach out through the website naturecoaching.net, and that's where we get most of the information requests, and they can also get some freebies, which is some audio guided practices that are there. So with my voice, you can wear your earplugs and go outdoors in one of your favorite natural places and be guided by me into a biophilic walking meditation or other kind of practices that should or could open you up to a different perception of nature's subjectivity.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Diana. It has been so much fun talking with you. And I want to thank you for your time and working with me with making sure that we made this happen. So it's just been, your energy is very bubbly and vivacious, and I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to share with you, and I really loved this project that you have created, and wish you all the best with
Thank you
this.
so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, Earth Nation. Goodbye for now.
Ciao.